I'll start with the arrival of the Germans. But their arrival, not their arrival this week, but their arrival years ago, when they first connected with us, and they said that they wanted to volunteer to help us in any way that we needed out here. But they reached out and they said that they wanted to they wanted to help us, and that their children and grandchildren of Nazis, many of them were, and that their parents brought so much darkness and death to the Jewish people, and they wanted to bring light and life and building. And we didn't have money to pay them, but they said it wouldn't be needed, that they were here to build, and it was really on them. They said that we're the furthest settlement into Judea, that this is where the world is the most against us, so this is where they wanted to stand with us. So in different visits out here, they came back on really like an annual level other than Corona. They worked on building the retreat center, and they planted trees, and they spent a day building our house of prayer, Beit Knesset. They built the entirety of the pergola next to the pool. And all the while, we really got to know each other, and we really came to love each other, and we learned together, and we really connected. And so they came back this year. They're actually at the farm right now as we speak. And the plan was that they would help us build the, the chuppah deck overlook right behind the house of prayer. You need to come and see it. It's absolutely breathtaking. That's one of the places when I take groups, I take people, I say that there's going to be a chuppah, a marriage canopy suspended 8 meters out over the Arugot Valley. You can like hear the gasp, and you can hear them compare that to like the Marriott of Teaneck, New Jersey, or whatever. And the song, Oh, Dishama Ba'are Yehuda, in every Jewish wedding, we sing the song of the prophets that say, there will be in the hills of Judea and the outskirts of Jerusalem, the bride and the groom, their song dancing. Well, there's nowhere that is more the hills of Judea and the outskirts of Jerusalem, literally, than our chuppah right there. But the problem was that they came to build it, but the wood didn't show up in time. And so what were we going to have them do? And so I remember we were reflecting together on what would be the best usage of their time. And I said that perhaps, after them coming and serving us so selflessly in years past, perhaps it was our opportunity to serve them. And they could just relax and enjoy the farm and pray and meditate and just be. And they would not hear of it. No, they are here to serve and not to be served. And so the first days they were here, we decided that they would harvest the olives. They harvested our olives, and they weren't alone. They were working hand in hand with 3 members of our fellowship who spent a number of days here with us as well at the same time. I'm sure many of you will recognize them. There's Brandon and Ryan and Gayla, and it was just a pleasure and a blessing to have them here and join us as well. Here's a little video.
What are you doing?
Making some olive press. We're harvesting olives.
And where are you doing that?
We're doing it here on the Argo farm in
Where?
Judea, in the land of Israel. Yeah. Our friend Ari, our videographer.
Anyways, this was all happening right in time. They showed up right in time because the time to harvest the olives is right after the first rain of the season. And that's exactly when the rain fell, right when they were getting here. And that's, so it was a no-brainer. It was really exciting. And when I say it was a no-brainer, it actually didn't strike me. It struck Jeremy. So good for you, Jeremy. It was a no-brainer for you, but for me, I didn't think about it. But anyways, there's some poetic justice also in seeing the Germans in specific harvesting these olives, because in the past years, they themselves planted some of the very trees whose olives they were harvesting. So here's a short video of the Germans at the beginning of the harvesting journey. I don't know if any of you have seen the, olive groves, but the trees are like bursting with olives in like haphazard, scattered sort of ways. And when normal people harvest the trees, everybody's pretty much satisfied with getting most, right? But not this group. They harvested maybe hundreds of trees. And I'm telling you, when I went out the next day to see if there were any that we could finish up and harvest with this little group I had, I found a total of 2 olives left on the trees. Not 2 olive trees, 2 olives. That's how thorough they were. I mean, just so meticulous. Everything they do is so meticulous and thorough and on time. Like, they didn't show up in time for one of the things, and Jeremy and I looked at each other like, Did you tell them? No. Did you tell them? No. Oh, each thought the other told them. They didn't know, because if they did know, they would have been there on time. And they kept telling us, how grateful and honored they were at the privilege to be able to harvest these trees, because, we explained to them that these were holy olives. Because, as you all know, we've talked about it before, this past year was the sabbatical year, the Shemitah year, in which we let our fields lie, right? They don't actually belong to us. The Hashem ha'aratzim la'o, they belong to Hashem, they belong to the entire people. We don't work the land because it's the Sabbath. It's the Sabbath of the land. And although the sabbatical year ended at Rosh Hashanah, the olives matured during that year. So they're still considered Kedushat Shvi'it. They're still considered, the holiness of the seventh year. And there's a series of guidelines on how to handle this sacred produce. A lot of people are very afraid around the degree of sanctity and sacredness and holiness of this produce. You can't just throw it out in the trash. Every drop of it, every bit of it is holy, and you have to just let it decay. Anyways, there's a lot of laws there, but we decided to go ahead and not to be afraid. A friend of mine told me he just keeps reminding himself Shemitah, the sabbatical year, isn't a problem. It's not a problem. Some people are so afraid that they make it into a problem that they avoid, but we decided to go ahead and make it into olive oil, very carefully and reverently. And there's a lot of laws around it and about it, but we're learning them, and we're going to have olive oil that has the sacred holiness of the seventh year. So anyways, I drove it to a special olive oil processing shack that specializes in doing the holy olives of the seventh year. They know all the laws and they're very careful about it. And it was in the valley of Ha'elah, Emek Ha'elah. Who can tell me what happened in Emek Ha'elah for one organic, delicious lollipop? That is where David slayed Goliath. That's right. And so I arrived there and I unloaded the olives and we weighed it, and it weighed 382 kilograms. That's a lot. That's a picture of the olives on that scale. And now they say that approximately 15% of the weight of the olives is what you get in oil, but I haven't picked up the oil yet, so we'll just have to wait and see how much we got. But I remember wondering, as I was unloading the olives, if the oil from this batch of holy olives picked by these holy Germans, as we said, many of them being the descendants of Nazis, if perhaps some of this oil, it's just a thought that I had, that perhaps some of this oil would perhaps be used in the Ner Tamid of the Beit HaMikdash, and the eternal flame of the Holy Temple. Because while I couldn't exactly put my finger on it, something felt like it really could be for, what is redemption, if not the elevation of the greatest darkness that we've experienced into the greatest light imaginable, right? The more profound the darkness, the greater and more illuminating the light. So if I were picking what oil went into that eternal flame in the Holy Temple, I would definitely nominate this oil. So, and by the way, that seems to be one of the greatest themes of this fellowship, and also of our mission in the world is to elevate light from darkness